Up next is this week's Wealth Creation Through Property feature. And this week, offshore property investment specialist Quinton Haddon explains why it is a good idea to add offshore buy-to-let property investments to your portfolio. Quinton, welcome back to All About Property.
Cornelius, it's lovely to be back. Thank you for having me.
Now, our viewers know by now that a buy-to-let property investment strategy is a good wealth creation vehicle. Yeah. But an offshore buy-to-let strategy, I must admit, feels a bit foreign to a lot of people. You saying it shouldn't be. Talk to us about that.
No, absolutely not, Cornelius. I think it's still a relatively new concept to South Africans. I mean, the concept of buy-to-let property is very well entrenched within the South African investment market. But going offshore has always had a little bit of a sense of trepidation. It's overseas, it's thousands of miles away, out of sight, out of mind. How do I manage it? How do I make sure my tenant's there, he's paying, etc., etc.? And that doesn't need to be the case, certainly not anymore.
I think firstly, just give us a bit of insight into the benefits of an offshore property, offshore buy-to-let investment.
It's typically one of the most secure asset classes you can invest into. Every successful portfolio should have property as its cornerstone. We need to diversify. As South Africans, we have to diversify. We have to look at wealth protection as much as wealth creation. And the benefit of property offshore, certainly in the markets that we represent, they're stable markets, they're secure markets, they're first world economic countries. The financial systems there are not volatile at all, unlike South Africa. Mm-hmm. So there is certainly, and this is critical for me, an element of wealth protection. Let's be realistic. We're not saying disinvest from South Africa completely,
yes.
But as part of your portfolio, you have to have some exposure offshore. And then a lot of the property investments that we offer are high-yielding property investments, much more than your sort of traditional major urban city centre properties that would give you yields of 1 to 2, possibly 3% net, where those you're buying from an emotional perspective because you want to own an apartment in London, as an example, or you're looking at the long-term capital growth view purely. Whereas we look at regions of the UK specifically, but certainly some of our other regions, that are undergoing good growth, which is offering better than average yields and also capital growth at the back end. So we're trying to tick both of those boxes. As long as the investor understands that I need to be more unemotional about this, they may possibly be in cities I'm not familiar of or regions I'm not familiar of, but there's reasons why we're going into those areas, and that's because they are the ones that are experiencing the growth.
So Quinton, you are the offshore property investment expert, and you're recommending people should consider the UK for their offshore buy-to-let investment opportunities. Why the UK?
Cornelius, we certainly believe the UK remains one of the strongest destinations for property investment, certainly out of South Africa. And some of the reasons for that are obvious. The strength of the pound sterling as a currency, for example. You're converting rands into pounds and your returns are coming back to you in a pound sterling currency. So that benefit cannot be overemphasized, particularly with the forex hedge and who knows where we're going with it. The UK, fifth strongest economy in the world, one of the most stable major currencies in the world. It's a very stable economic system. So your wealth is at a lot less of a risk than it is in other markets such as South Africa. And then when you look at the specific sectors such as care homes, for example, which is very popular at the moment.
Why are care homes so popular at the moment? Well, as an investment opportunity?
Well, firstly, there's an aging population problem in the UK. People are living a lot longer than historically they have, which means that the requirement or the need for frail care is growing and for extended periods of time. And it's a sector of the market that's been very much, I hate to use the word ignored, but to a certain degree it has been ignored.
Yes.
You've had a couple of key players that are focused on that market. They're getting out of it for a whole host of reasons, which means that there's a gap where service providers are stepping into now, and the creation of these care homes are are flourishing.
So, Quentin, tell me, what is the investment that people should be making into these care homes?
Typically between 70 to 110,000 pounds is where most of the care home offerings are positioned, which makes it affordable for a South African. It hovers around about his discretionary allowance, a little bit over depending on the price of the unit. It's not significant capital that he has to now disinvest in South Africa to make that investment. And we find that's highly attractive across most of our portfolio, in fact.
Talking about the type of returns that South Africans can expect from these investments.
Up to 100% of the rental required for those units is paid for by government grants. So the developers there are typically offering anywhere from 8 to 10% net over the assured period, which is above average.
Now, you represent Penbridge Offshore, which is the company that assists investors with making these investments in the UK.
Yes.
Talk to me about your offering, and why should people deal with Penbridge Offshore?
The philosophy behind Penbridge is really to sit down with our clients, identify what their investment aspirations or their investment needs are, and then try and put in front of them the best solution. And with relationships with a whole host of service providers, primarily in the UK, but not exclusively. I mean, we have opportunities in the United States, Southern Europe, Mauritius as an example, a whole host of areas. We can sit down with a client and say, well, what is it that you want? What are your aspirations? Where do you want to invest? And then put in front of them the best solution. And I think that's one of the key benefits of dealing with Penbridge, is this portfolio of opportunities we can sit down with the client, as opposed to him engaging with a single service provider he's encountered online or has had a call center call him. The other benefit I think that our clients take great comfort in is knowing that these are not service providers we've just decided to partner with on a whim. We've done, to the best of our ability, thorough due diligence. We've gone over to the UK, to the States, to wherever they are based. We've met with the master agents, we've met with the developers, and we've seen examples of projects that they've already completed on and that are generating returns for their investors. So again, as best as we can do, we believe that they've been vetted, and I think that gives our clients a lot of comfort in that they know that the vendors that they're being partnered with have been vetted correctly.
Yes.
And then finally, and South Africans take a lot of comfort in this, understandably so, is we're a South African company, we're based here in South Africa. So they'll deal initially through us, and we're always there if they need any help down the road. So once we've sat down with the client, we've identified what it is that they want, we then facilitate that relationship with the service provider. So we'll explain how the product works to the client, and we'll start walking them down that path to eventually owning the unit that they will be purchasing from that service provider. And that, I think, also is one of the key benefits of dealing with Penbridge.
Well, Quentin, once again, lovely chatting to you. Thank you very much.
Cornelius, it's a pleasure. Thank you.